Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McGrath, senior editor at Forbes. On Thursday, tensions between President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk exploded into public view. The world's most powerful man and the world's most rich man are feuding, and it could have a major effect on Tesla, among many other things. Joining us now is my colleague, senior editor Alan Onsman. He covers the future of transportation and has been closely following Elon and Tesla for many years. Alan, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Maggie. Good to be with you.
So, for folks who weren't online all day yesterday, can you give us a recap of exactly what happened and how we got here?
Yeah. Elon Musk, obviously, for the last week or so, has grown increasingly critical of the Republican passed budget, the one that cleared the House, the so-called big beautiful bill. And what he's been upset about is how much it adds to the deficit. That there's a lot of spending and not enough reduction in various government programs. So he has been steadily increasing his criticism of this, calling it an abomination earlier in the week. But yesterday, things just really exploded, where it went sort of next level, and you saw what appeared to be an open break with Donald Trump, and with a lot of nasty stuff going back and forth. Most of the nastiest stuff coming from Musk, who obviously is not known to be restrained in his social media comments. That's well established over many years. But calling for Trump's impeachment, saying that J.D. Vance should replace him, tying Trump to the Jeffrey Epstein controversy and saying his name is in those files, and that's why they're not being publicly released. Just a whole range of things, and saying he felt ingratitude from the White House and from Republicans for all he did to get Trump elected, including all the money he provided, saying Trump wouldn't have even won without his support. Who knows about that? So it was really, quite something, and it escalated throughout the course of the day. Today, as we speak at the moment, he seems to have calmed a bit and has pulled back, although I haven't looked at the social media feeds in the last 15 or 20 minutes, so that could have changed at this point. But yeah, it really went to sort of, almost open warfare, it seemed yesterday. And again, as you pointed out, this is between the world's wealthiest human being and the most powerful person in the world, the U.S. president. So that is certainly quite a development. And, we'll point out, it's not that this was completely unexpected. I think a lot of folks for a long time thought, this looks like a real, combustible relationship here. It's good for now, but, these two guys have massive egos. They have huge followings. They have a big social media footprint. So at some point, it seems like something's going to happen here, and this is going to break down. And yesterday was that day.
Yesterday was that day, and it has so many implications. I mean, just Musk's allegation that Trump would not have won the election were it not for him merits inquiry. But one of the things I want to ask you, since you've been following Tesla for so long, do we buy Musk's argument that this is about the federal deficit, or is he angry about something relating to EV credits in the budget and the federal government's treatment of EV credits? Is this a Trojan horse of sorts, or is it that he is genuinely upset about what the budget bill does to the deficit?
Well, Musk over the years has, especially in the last year, has moved very far right on the political spectrum. So there may be some truth to his concerns about the budget deficit for sure. But as you point out, the budget is pretty brutal to the EV industry, to clean energy generally. The tax credit that Americans receive for buying an electric vehicle was bolstered under the Biden administration to $7,500 and made more widely available. Tesla is the single biggest beneficiary of that because it's the biggest EV seller in the United States. So it reaped the greatest gains from the existence of that tax credit. There are also the elimination in the budget of support for charging infrastructure, EV charging infrastructure. Tesla provides EV charging services, not just to its own customers, but they've opened up their network to everyone. So General Motors and Hyundai and Kia and Honda and anybody who makes an EV now, you can get an adapter and use Tesla's network, and Tesla makes money from that. that goes away. The support for that goes away. Clean energy incentives for constructing new battery plants, all manner of clean energy technology lined out. So for Tesla in particular, they will take a big hit. The company will take a hit from what's in the budget as it currently stands. So, is Elon Musk concerned about deficits? Sure. Okay. But is he also concerned about the impact of the budget bill on his biggest company? Yeah, unquestionably. And at the same time, the Trump administration has gotten rocky for him because of the tariffs. Tesla uses a lot of steel. Tesla uses a lot of aluminum. Tesla uses imported auto parts from Korea and Japan, battery cells from China. All of those things are now subject to tariffs that seem to vary day by day in terms of how high they are. But that is a real cost to his business. So obviously, he's not happy, perhaps about several things. We can assume, okay, he does care about the deficit, but on top of that, take a number. There are a lot of things he doesn't like that are happening at the moment.
And what's so interesting to me about what you just outlined is these are things that already happened. Tariffs were already announced and put in place. The measures in the budget bill, that bill passed the House. But you published a story yesterday with the headline, Tesla's newest nightmare is Donald Trump. Did I get that
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Yes.
Tesla's newest nightmare is Donald Trump, published yesterday. So what is new, or what is the new threat for Tesla in the midst of this public feud between Musk and Trump?
Yeah, if things stay hot and tense between Musk and Trump, that is not good news for Tesla. Every aspect of Tesla's business, and just as for any automaker, is highly regulated by the federal government. There are federal safety guidelines, legal guidelines, labor guidelines, any number of things. Prior to Donald Trump coming into office, there were a number of investigations into Tesla, both by safety regulators at NHTSA and the NTSB over its autopilot and full self-driving systems. There were, labor inquiries, looking at its practices at its plants. OSHA, which looks at workplace safety, has had a number of investigations into Tesla over the years. Just a whole range of areas where the company is sort of at the mercy of federal regulators. A lot of that seemed to go away when Trump came into office. And so for a lot of reasons, Tesla stock just boomed last year. It went traded at over $420 a share in December, in this expectation that his very friendly relationship with Donald Trump would be a net positive for the company, particularly for things like some of these regulatory issues. Well, now if Trump and he and Trump are enemies, and Donald Trump, who is known to hold grudges and acts on them, could suddenly bring back to life a great many of these issues that seemed like they had been resolved. And one of the key ones, I think, to focus on would be the safety of its automated driving systems. Already, there are open inquiries into both autopilot and FSD, full self-driving. These are currently available to all Tesla customers. These are not actual autonomous vehicle options because they require a human to be behind the wheel, ready to take over at any time if something bad happens. Tesla is now getting ready to do this robotaxi program in Austin, Texas this month. We don't know the exact date, maybe next week, as soon as June 12th, based on some reporting. NHTSA has already asked Tesla to brief it and provide details and data on its program so that it understands exactly what Tesla is doing. So that happened, that request for information from NHTSA, which is under the Department of Transportation, came before this current break between Elon and Trump. That could be grounds for the Trump administration to say, oh, well, we have some concerns about the safety of this program, and we do not think it is in the best interest of the public that you go forward at this time until we have a better understanding and more clarity of what you're doing. Now, right now, the federal government cannot prevent Tesla from launching the program. And that's because we don't have national rules currently on autonomous vehicles and robotaxis, believe it or not. We have them operating all over the place. We still don't actually have coherent federal policy. All the decisions are regulated at the state level at this time. Texas is extremely open and flexible. California is a little tougher. So if the Trump administration, if NHTSA says, we're not really thrilled with this program, we want more information, or we don't think it's safe enough at this time, Donald Trump can certainly pick up the phone, call Governor Greg Abbott of Texas and say, why don't you slow the roll on this thing? Maybe let's not go forward with the Austin rollout of robotaxis by Tesla at this particular time. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that is within the realm of possibility. And angry Trump could do something exactly like that. And the reason why that's important is Tesla is running into some difficult problems with its core business. And its core business is and has been for many years selling electric vehicles, selling batteries, selling charging services. Those things aren't going so well at the moment. The first quarter of the year, auto sales were terrible. Tesla's net income and revenue both declined far more than analysts expected because of poor sales in China, in Europe, and in the United States. The second quarter doesn't appear to be shaping up any better. Elon Musk has pretty much said to investors, don't worry about that. We're going to pivot and we're going to be this new kind of company, and we're going to focus on some other things beyond EVs. Robotaxi is critical to that. That is the single most important strategic move the company is planning at this point. If something happens with the Trump administration where they, for now at least, temporarily shut it down, that's a problem. He also wants Tesla to be a leader in humanoid robotics and AI and things like that. But there are any number of areas where, through regulatory oversight, the Trump administration could make life pretty bad for Elon and Tesla right now, and especially if Trump's got a big chip on his shoulder and is angry at Elon.
You had a source tell you for your story, quote, Elon's surface area for attack is remarkable. He mentions the lever to pull would be the investigations, some of which you've mentioned, but it really is a remarkable swath of business that could be affected by federal policy. And it's perhaps a question for a legal scholar about if it's even legal for Trump to target Musk like that. Do you have any sense for constitutionally, is Trump allowed to target Elon and Tesla in the ways that you just kind of outlined?
Well, as we've already seen, the Trump administration and Donald Trump, whether it is legal or allowable, he has already gone after a great many institutions and individuals that he's upset with. His fight with Harvard right now is pretty astonishing, and with a lot of elite universities where he's very upset with them. Is that legal? Well, many of the executive orders and actions he's taken, a lot of the federal courts have said, no, you can't do this, but he does it anyway. So I think that's the whole thing. It's like, I'm not sure at the moment the legality matters because he'll just often do things. And his tendency is to push as far as he can push and see if anyone stops him. So, if such action were taken and Tesla said, wait, this is, you're going right after us. This is a problem. They would sue and this would all end up in court. But this is, it's going to be a headache for Tesla's business, obviously, and investors wouldn't be happy about this. If you have Tesla consistently locked in legal fights with the administration, that's not going to be good for business. And I think this, broadly speaks to something I wrote about also this week about concerns about the lack of governance by Tesla's board. The one thing we have to stop and look at is, wait a second, he's the CEO of a public company and he's openly going after the sitting president of the United States in ways that are not likely to be in the best interest of his public company. Where is Tesla's board? Why are they not saying, whoa, you need to, cool your jets here and just stop this? And perhaps if Elon is saying, I'm going to call a truce for now and get off of social media and stop tweeting about this stuff, perhaps that comes from calls he's had with the board. But objectively, It's nuts that Tesla's board is not interceding and saying this is not appropriate. In the earlier piece from this week about pension funds and state financial officials being upset with Tesla and with Tesla's board in particular, they asked this question: what other public company would allow this type of behavior from their CEO? I mean, maybe you have some thoughts, but I can't think of
Can't
anything.
think of a single one. If Jamie Dimon were doing this, if the head of P&G were doing this, it's difficult to think of one. And you mentioned publicly traded stock. What is happening with Tesla stock today? Because we've seen a number of Wall Street analyst commentary come out in the last 24 hours saying that this could increase near-term uncertainty. I think that's
Yeah.
putting it mildly. Goldman Sachs lowered its estimates for Q2 deliveries.
Yeah.
We were already kind of expecting lower than expected or lower than projected estimates. What is the financial impact starting with the stock? How badly is it down? How much money has Elon Musk lost in the last 24 hours?
Well, Tesla yesterday was just absolutely hammered. One of its, I think maybe in the history of the company, one of its worst single day declines. It was down 14%. And that was, $152 billion of value eradicated as a result of his fight with Trump yesterday. Earlier today, it was recovering a little bit. It was up a few percent. I'm not looking at it at the moment, but clearly we can see the market responded very sharply to that and voted very clearly. We don't like this. Like, this is not good. And one of the things I noted in the piece yesterday, $152 billion. That's more than the combined market value of General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, the traditional U.S. big three automakers. Just to put things in, to give you some sense of the scale here, Tesla does have this outsized market cap, more than $1 trillion recently. There's no auto company even approaching that. Even Toyota, the world's biggest automaker, is less than half that market cap. And a big source of that vast, huge market capitalization for Tesla is this unshakable faith some people have, many people have perhaps, that Elon Musk can work wonders, that he is this extraordinary entrepreneur who can do amazing things. He can create the modern EV industry. He can launch low-cost rockets that land, on the, and are reusable. He can do things other executives cannot do. And for that reason, Tesla is just, traded at a premium for years and years and years. The Goldman Sachs piece about this is going to be a lousy quarter for Tesla is correct. We already see coming out of Europe and China, sales are way down of Tesla EVs. And so that's not good. Directionally, that's not good. If things stay tense with the Trump administration, suddenly that halo that is around Musk and Tesla stock, it goes away real fast if things get ugly. So it remains to be seen where this is headed, because a lot of it is, does Elon try to restrain himself in his public comments, and how vengeful is Donald Trump going to be? Is he, sometimes Trump doesn't react right away, but then after he chews on it a while, he suddenly gets really angry. So we'll see. I think they were reportedly going to have a call today and maybe talk. I don't know if that's going.
If that was still on, because I saw a headline a little bit later in the morning saying that it wasn't going to happen. But I want to go back to something you said about the halo around Tesla stock and Elon Musk being able to do things that no other CEO leader could do. That sense of uniqueness is now what seems to be biting Tesla stock in the butt. Right? No one else could go to war with the president of the United States, no other corporate CEO, without consequence. And now Elon is experiencing those consequences. But I'm curious, because one of the other Wall Street notes, I think this one came from Morgan Stanley, said that this disagreement could potentially temporarily alienate multiple sides of the political spectrum. We've, of course, seen some protest on the left for how much Musk engaged with the Trump administration through Doge, through those actions. But are we now going to see GOP alienation of the company? And is that why the stock is down? Or is the stock down? And are these notes coming out because Elon is seeming so distracted by his involvement with the government?
All of the above, I think, in this case. I think that assessment is correct. Could there be Could he now alienate folks on both sides of the political spectrum? 100%. Already, we had seen it, as you point out, with Democrats, progressives, liberals who've been protesting in the U.S. and in Europe who didn't like what he was doing with Doge, among other things. The reason why that's been a big deal is, survey after survey after survey shows Tesla's core buyer base, and in fact, the EV buyer base in general tends to be consumers who identify as more progressive, concerned about climate change. Politically, they tend to track, left or center left. That's just the reality of things. So if he was doing things and had been doing things that were upsetting folks on the left side of the political spectrum, that's bad business because you're infuriating, your core buyer base. What we see now, though, is, with his attacks on Trump, with his attacks on the budget bill, that a lot of Republicans, maybe they don't like it that much, but they want to get it through, across the goal line, get this thing enacted, are not appreciative of what he's saying and doing right now. And Donald Trump certainly has a very activated fan base. Musk, in an interview a couple of weeks ago, was mentioning, well, maybe we're losing some people in certain markets like California or Europe, but we're picking up people on the right. I would say there's absolutely no evidence to support that, that's true. And certainly with what we've seen develop this week, if that were happening, it doesn't seem like that's going to continue if he's making a lot of Trump fans very angry with his comments.
A lot has happened this week, and a lot is changing on a minute-to-minute basis, but what are you going to be looking for over the next 24, 48 hours, and what will you be asking your sources?
Basically, I will be looking to see if the revenge begins, if Trump does actually begin to act. I mean, I have been talking to a lot of folks, both financial people and people in industry and legal folks about what they anticipate. And yeah, this whole idea that regulatory pain would be the easiest way for Trump to squeeze Tesla and Elon. Basically, looking for signs that may be happening. As mentioned, the Austin robotaxi rollout could be as soon as June 12th. Does that happen? Does something, sidetrack that? That would be huge if that were the case. Now, someone did kind of, theorize maybe all of this is because Musk is concerned that Tesla's not really ready to launch the Austin robotaxi pilot program. So perhaps he's doing this because he's looking for the government to shut it down, and then he can blame regulators and say, oh, this is unfair. Too much regulation, too much bureaucracy stopped us from doing this. I don't know. That's a little out there. I'm not sure. I think that's the case, but definitely to see are there signs of this thing staying hot and tense between the two of them, and if it does, what kind of revenge does Donald Trump extract using the powers of the U.S. presidency?
And how much money will Tesla and Elon Musk continue to lose? Ongoing questions. We will be following your coverage closely. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. And for folks who are interested in his story, head to Forbes.com to read Tesla's newest nightmare is Donald Trump. Alan Onsman, thank you again.
Thanks, Maggie. Good to be with you.